And then very gently from here, you let go of the hands next to you. And bringing your hands into prayer pose in front of your heart center. Being present to your own breath. And then we tune in. Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mitroma Amritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We inhale deeply. We suspend our breath. And then we exhale. Slowly opening our eyes, interlacing our fingers, except the index fingers. They stay extended and they touch. We cross the thumbs over each other. And then from here, you inhale, you bring your arms up just to the third eye. And then back, exhaling, open mouth towards your heart center. So you just inhale, nose. Exhale, open mouth. Inhale. And exhale. Then continue at your own pace. Being aware of how you're lifting your diaphragm a little bit. Connecting your heart center with the center of intuition. In yoga, we often call this the golden connection. When we follow our heart and our intuition, we really can go wrong. One more minute. We're stimulating the body this morning to increase our clarity. Last 3 repetitions. And then we gently separate our fingers. We bring the arms out to the side, elbows are close towards our body, palms facing forward. So, and we spread our fingers here. I inhale through my nose, and then I turn my hands around, I make a fist, thumb inside, and I exhale, open mouth. This is actually stimulating our brain, yeah, so that we can think clearly. We're spreading our fingers, palm facing forward on our inhalation. We're making a fist, thumb goes inside, palms facing more towards our shoulders when we exhale through the open mouth. Besides the brain, we're stimulating our blood right now. Make sure you relax your jaw on your exhalation. One more minute. Really let go on the exhale. Pull your navel towards your spine. And you exhale, truly let go. Good, now inhale deeply, palms facing forward, spread your fingers, suspend your breath, pull your perineum, sex organ, navel in and up, and squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then we want to exhale, open mouth. We're bending our ring finger and our pinky all the way down. We cross our thumbs over the ring finger and the pinky, index finger and middle finger are extended as an active prana mudra. So now you extend your left arm all the way forward, your right elbow goes all the way back. That's your inhale. Exhale, push the right arm forward, left hand arm goes back. All breath through the nostrils for 2 minutes. With a strong push, pull. You can take your head with you to the side, engage your entire torso, activate the circulation. You feel a slight spinal twist. Strong breath, 1 more minute. Cleanse your sinuses. Now on the next inhale, both elbows go back. Suspend your breath just for a few seconds. We exhale, we let go. We bring our forearms parallel to the floor, the palms opening up. They're a little bit like in beggar pose. And then from here, On the exhalation, you bring your arms behind. Inhale out to the side. Exhale, open mouth. So you're cleansing your spirit. Engage now your shoulders. Last minute. We can always look what we want to throw overboard. What you want to let go of. Last 3. Good, and then rest your hands. Left hand onto your heart center, right hand on top. Take 3 deep breaths. Two more. And then with your eyes closed, gently let your hands slide onto your knees, palms facing upward. And we are open to receive from Nirmala.
Thank you, Siddhi. So will you guys do me a favor, because I think it would be fun, and in the chat section, would you just type in where you are today or where you're from, whatever, both. I just want to know where all of you guys are. We're all across the country, people in different places, and we're all joining here in this community. And I'd like to visualize where you are. And while you're doing that, a couple of things. One is that we now have 20 of us in the healing circle that gathers on Friday mornings. And I don't know how you all are. If you want to add something to the chat section, if you're part of that circle, how you're feeling, but it feels so connected to me and so intense and so intentional. I'm just really enjoying that 11 minutes. It's such a short amount of time, but I feel so much goes through me in that 11 minutes. And I feel connected in a different way to not only all of you, but just to sort of the universe and how we're connected to the all of humanity and our piece of that. And so it's just really beautiful. I thank all of you and remind those of you if you would like to join, but mostly if you would like support, just let us know. We are supporting the entire community, of course, in our prayers and in our energy. So you're already covered, but it's nice to have your name in the circle as well. Also, after our gathering today, I will be doing a little tutorial on how to get online with the toolbox. So if you want to stay for that, just stay on, don't tune out, and I'll do a little sharing of that process. It will only take like 5 minutes, 6 minutes. And then I have one other thing I wanted to tell you. Well, whatever it is, it'll come back to me. It's gone somewhere. Today, I had planned to talk about some spiritual teachings that have changed my life. However, I had this really darling call this morning from a friend of mine that many of you have met who has come to Spirit House and given blessings and meditations and all sorts of ways that he's contributed. Rinpoche, our sweet little Rinpoche, who is now 85. he's in India, and he called this morning to check in and to chat for a bit, which was so auspicious. He's so precious. And I just thought I would share a little bit with you about Rinpoche. And I asked him this morning, I said, Rinpoche, can you give me one teaching that you think would be useful to me and to our community today? And he did give me one. So I want to share that with you. But I want to share of well, first, Rinpoche is we call him Rinpoche, but that's an honorific and a sign of a certain level of education. There are many, not many, but a few hundred Rinpoches in the Tibetan Buddhist community. And he also has Geshe, which is another level of it's like a postdoctorate degree. And he is a beautiful North Indian gentleman who is very close to the Dalai Lama in that Rinpoche has been responsible for developing a monastery outside of Bangalore in India that's called Tashi Lampo in Exile. And it's an important monastery because the original Tashi Lampo is in Grazatsi in Tibet. And it's where all of the Tibetan monks would be trained. So for many, many centuries, if you were becoming a Tibetan monk, that's where you would go for your education and you would live there. When Tibet was taken over and many of the monasteries were disassembled or just they weren't able to teach the same way, the Tibetans, of course, came to India and they didn't have a place to study. So for a long time, they've been sort of moving around. They've been where the Dalai Lama is in Dharmansala. They've been in other locations, but not centralized. And the Dalai Lama asked Rinpoche about 10 years ago if he would take a piece of land that they had outside of Bangalore and develop Tashi Lampo in Exile, where they could then have a teaching location, a university for the Tibetan lineage. Otherwise, there's no, they're living in diaspora. They're living in India, which is not their homeland. And so as the Dalai Lama has been trying to create a space for that, Rinpoche was very involved in that. So he took over the project. And I was there for the consecration of 2 different buildings at 2 different times. And one of them being the library and also the prayer hall. And Rinpoche, he was traveling the world at 75 to 85. He was traveling the world asking for donations for this. This little man. So I had this one experience with him that was quite humorous. He's so humble and so just a simple man. He comes with his little bag of just a few things that he needs to take with him. He lives his life in great simplicity. And whatever comes, it doesn't matter what the conditions are. He just is there and he just goes with it. And it's so beautiful to learn from someone who is exhibiting those qualities that we would like to be able to own as our own, to be with them for even, a few hours. It's such a blessing. So he was with me. This was several years ago. He was staying with me and he was leaving. I had to take him to the airport. And he had a conference call that needed to happen at exactly the time I would be driving him to the airport. So I said to him, I'll create the conference call on your phone and you can do it from the car. It's a half an hour call, half an hour drive to the airport. It's all good. So I get him up in the morning. I get his little pouch of things. I get him a couple little treats and I take out to the car. I take a cup of tea out to the car for myself and I put it in the little center console. And then I go get Rinpoche and I bring him and get him in the car and get his bag and everything settled. And I just go back in to grab one more thing. And I come back out and he's holding his phone and it's dripping. And I said, Rinpoche, what's going on? He said, he had put his phone down thinking it was, I guess, the center console just to let it sit there. And he put it into my cup of tea. So he's holding it and it's drip, drip, drip. And I'm like, oh no, this is not good. So I had asked my son Barrett to go with us because I was concerned about being able to get him out of the car and get him checked in and not have to park far away. So I said, you come in and you can circle and I'll take him in. So I run in and I say, Barrett, what to do with this phone that's been in? He said, how long was it in? I said, I don't know. I was in the house like a minute. I don't know how long. And he said, well, let's put it in some rice. So he pops it in a bag of rice and we get back in the car. So now I have to figure out how to find all this contact information to get him on his call from my phone. And I'm just hoping that by the time we get to the airport, his phone will work. So he does that. He gets off. We get to the phone. Of course, his phone's not turning on. It's not going to come on. And so I get him out and I check him in, and we were at those kiosks where you have to put all your information in, and then it spits out the little tag, and then you check in. So he had just a small little bag, but he wanted to check it. So we did that, and we get him, I go up, we get him checked in, he shows his passport, all is good. I walk him to the gate, or to the TSA, and, you know, we bow and we bop heads, which they do. And we did, you know, oh, goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. And I watched him for a little ways, and then I'm like, okay, he's gone. Off I go. I get about halfway home, driving back, and there's a phone, my phone rings, and it's an unknown number. I don't know, but I felt the instinct to answer it. So I answer the phone, and it's this United Airlines person who says, I have your person here. He can't get through security. And I said, well, why not? And she said, because the name on his ticket, he has like 6 names in a row. And she said, the name on his ticket doesn't match the name on his passport. And I said, oh, well, okay. She said, so we're going to have, it's going to take some time to get this straightened out. We're going to have a new issue a new ticket. He's going to miss this flight. So you should come and get him. So I turn the car around. I'm like not even halfway back home. So I turn the car around, I go back, and Barrett's still with me. So he drops me off, and I run in, and I'm searching everywhere, and I find him sitting on a little seat near where I had checked him in. And I said, Rinpoche, what happened? And he tells me, and I said, okay. So we go through this whole thing, and we figure out how to get him a new ticket. When's that going to happen? And he says, okay, I'm set. I'm good. You can go. So I said, okay. So I leave, and I get about halfway home, and the phone rings again, different number. I answer it. We have another problem. So I turn the car around, I go back to get him again. Now it's been like, you know, it's like 2 hours of back and forth with little Mr. Rinpoche. So I get back, and the flight that he was supposed to be on had been canceled. So now they had to create another flight for him, but he's hungry. And then I remember that monks don't travel with any money. The only money they get, they never ask for food, and they never ask for money. If it's offered to them, they'll receive it, but they don't ask for it. So he doesn't have any money. I should have sent him to the airport with cash, but I didn't think about it. So he had no money and no food. And by now it's been several hours. He's hungry. So I said, okay, how about I take you for some food and we eat while we're waiting for your next flight? He says, yes. So we go and we do that. And people were coming up to him and, you know, just prostrating themselves and bowing to him. And his presence was so powerful in the airport, and just this little cherub round face with his just sweetness about him, and so humble and so gracious and so nothing. He has an orange robe and a cell phone that doesn't work, and that's it. And his little, you know, pack of things, that's all he has. So we eat, and I take him back, and this time I make sure he gets through security. I see him going to the gate. I check the flights all fine. So it goes, I leave him. I finally get home. It's been like 4 hours at this point from when I started the journey. And about 3 hours later, my phone rings, and I look at it, and I'm like, So I answer it, and it's Rinpoche. I said, where are you? He said, I'm in New York. And I said, no, because he was going to Las Vegas. I said, you can't be in New York. And he starts laughing. He goes, ha, 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 ha. Like, he thought it was so funny. He had teased me, just like this little Buddha laughing person. And he was so happy he'd gotten there, and they'd figured out how to get the person who picked him up had a new phone for him, and they'd figured all that out, and it was all fine. But through that, his equilibrium, his equanimity, his laughter, his joy, he was just fine with all of it. I was frantic, but he was just fine with whatever was coming next. And I was just struck by how easily we can get buffered about by circumstances, and how we don't have to. It's a choice. It's just a choice. And so today, when I asked him what it is that we could take away today, he said that it was about ego. And in the Tibetan Buddhist understanding of ego, the Buddhist teachings of ego, it isn't that we want to keep a little bit of it because that's good. We want to be rid of all of it. So their goal is to relinquish the talons, the grasping that happens with ego. And he said this time that we're having in the world is a profound time for us to work through our samsara, which is our repeating our lifetimes until we get the pieces that we're meant to get, that are for us. So each lifetime, there are additional teachings and learnings and transformations that we have an opportunity to become a part of or not. And in the Buddhist understanding, if you get those, you eventually work your way through, and then there's no more samsara. You don't come back. You're done. You're finished. You're at one with the cosmic energy universe, and there's no embodiment. Now you're in energy form. And he said, this time that we're in is this profound opportunity for us to work through our samsara, to get the lessons of life. And he said, to become the mother of the universe. We talked about Mother's Day and what that meant. And he said, this is our, as the Dalai Lama has so articulately commented on, and we've talked about, we carry the qualities and the attributes of mother to the universe. That's what we come in as. Whether you mother personally in this lifetime is irrelevant. You come in with that energy and with those qualities. And for us to take those qualities of compassion and love and acceptance and extend that to everyone in the universe, to all sentient beings, so that there isn't any difference between this one who does things easily or well or the way I like, or this one who doesn't. It's all the same. That our distinguishing between one person or one situation as better, easier, more to my liking than another is our ego's way of keeping control in our lives and having preferences beyond what we can control. And that's where our disappointment comes in life. We're only disappointed when we have an expectation of something being a certain way or a person responding or behaving in a certain way. That's the only room for disappointment, the gap between what we expect and what is actually happening. And when we let go of that expectation from individuals or situations, we can be joyful in all of them, even when they're trying, even when they're difficult and not what we're asking for. The angst that rises in your system that you feel physically stops happening. That you may have an opinion to address a situation or a person in a certain way based on maybe wanting to shift something or having the compassion to offer something different, but your response, the response that comes through you, stops being one of angst and disappointment and fear. There's no fear. Ego and fear work together. So when ego feels as though it's being threatened, there's a sense of fear. There's a fear response to a situation versus being willing to see what happens. Just see what happens. So I just think on this day before Mother's Day that we have this opportunity to make a commitment to ourselves, that we see ourselves as mother to the universe, and that all of the compassion and the love and the carefulness that we use in our lives for our loved ones can be extended to everyone. And we can use this as our potential for the healing of the universe. Healing has to come from us. We are the initiators of that process, we as women. And if we wait for someone else to do it, it's not going to happen. If we wait for the politicians to do it, or we wait for the religious people to do it, or we wait for, it doesn't matter who we are waiting. There's no one to wait for. It's us. And what happens in that healing, that expression of healing into the world, is that we become healed. So we don't do it for our own healing, but that's a side benefit that happens when we extend that love and that compassion into the world, and we acknowledge that we are healers. We become healed. In our woundedness, in our history of whatever relationships and whatever has worked or not worked in your life, it doesn't matter. What you came in with as a woman is the opportunity to be a healer. And you don't have to be one that hangs up a shingle and says, I do this type of healing. Just by your presence in the world, you're a healer. So I just would like us to take that away today, because it's Mother's Day tomorrow. And let's intentionally claim the qualities and the potential that we already carry as healers, and use it in your family and your community, and then use it on this planet that we're living in. We're here. and see how we can heal ourselves through healing others. One last thought that I want to leave with you is that Rinpoche, he didn't tell me about this. I heard about this from his United States executive director, but his monks have blessed a small group of a number of malas, sandalwood malas. I'll share a picture with you after we finish today, that they blessed, and they are selling. I have a website for them. They're $108 for the 108. They're beautiful malas, and they're blessed malas, and they're using all the funds. 100% of the funds are going towards a US group that's bringing some oxygen, some sort of oxygen tanks and distribution, a way that they can bring oxygen to some of the hospitals in India. So it's a way to participate in that process of helping our fellow human beings in a place that really needs support right now. So there's a limited number of these malas, but I'll share the photograph and the link with you in our weekly email. So mothers to the universe, claim it.
Thank you. That's beautiful. And while you were speaking, I was thinking, okay, what is the mudra that I would like to share today? And there's a very simple mudra with a very complicated name. So we go first into the easy part of it. So you interlace all your fingers, your thumbs are extended, and you just place this mudra onto your chest. It's called Vajra Pradama Mudra. And it actually increases our trust into our own self. And to let go of the ego, to let go of fear, we need to learn to trust. Trust that we have enough, that we are enough, that we are taken care of. With that consciousness, we can take care of everything and everyone around us. So just for a moment, just feel the warmth of your hands penetrating your chest region. You will definitely feel the rise and the fall of your chest when you're breathing. Maybe you're feeling your heartbeat. And then you can start mentally recite Aham. 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 I am. You're just feeling yourself. Feeling all that you are. And allowing yourself to be in touch with yourself. We gently bring our hands into prayer pose. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you for joining. Enjoy Mother's Day every day.
Have the ones who want to stay on for online support.